all to the last exclusive behind-the-scenes experience. Our actors are rehearsing the final scene of our play, and I think all of you will be most impressed. The original script for our play can be found in Esther 5:1-8-7-1-6. And now, without further ado, I present to you the epic events of Esther and the Empire, Scene 4. Esther talks to the king. Faces everyone, and action.
In the previous scene, Mordecai asked his cousin Esther, who was the queen of Persia, to help save her people from Haman, the horrible by talking to the king. Okay, that's not what they called him, but he was indeed horrible because he was mad at Mordecai. Haman wanted to destroy an entire group of people. Esther was afraid to do it. Anyone who approached the king without being called on could also be in big trouble. But Mordecai reminded her that maybe God had allowed her to become queen for exactly this moment. She was the only one who could help now.
So after asking Mordecai to call on their community to pray for her, Esther decided she would visit with the king. Esther slowly put on her royal robe. She topped it off with her shiny crown. Then she walked slowly towards the throne room where the king was. She took a deep breath.
The king looked up from his royal chair. And who was this radiant creature standing in his court? Why, it was the queen. He quickly held out his golden scepter toward her, which meant that it was okay for her, Esther, to enter. Esther walked forward and touched the tip of the scepter as the king started to speak. But Esther didn't start by mentioning the big problem she really wanted to talk to the king about. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet, which is just a party with fancy food.
Okay, stage crew, let's bring in the banquet table.
The what? Oh.
Go feed. Quiet.
Nobody, you can do this.
I'll go, girl.
Go, girl.
Right there, right there, right there.
Okay.
Center stage. Center stage.
Sophia, do you look like the stage crew?
So the king, the queen, and Haman sat down and enjoyed a fancy banquet. I wonder what they were thinking. Turn on the flashlight and shine toward each of the characters, avoiding their eyes. Esther was probably really nervous and just waiting for the right moment to bring up her request to the king so she could save her people. Haman was probably feeling really happy with himself, seeing that he was specifically invited by the queen to join her and the king for this party. The king was probably just staring at Esther the entire time because he couldn't believe how lucky he was that she was queen.
At the end of the banquet, Esther spoke up. But again, instead of mentioning what she really wanted to talk about, she invited them to another banquet the next day. So that's what they did. Turn off the flashlight and shine toward each of the characters. Haman was probably still really proud of himself for snagging another exclusive invitation to the queen's banquet. The king was probably staring to get suspicious. Why did the queen suddenly throw the two parties back to back? She must want something. Queen Esther was gathering all her courage because tonight was the moment she would bring up all needed to be said. Watch out, Haman.
So when King Xerxes turned to the king, flashed a winning smile and said to her, "What's on your mind? You can ask me for anything, you know." Esther answered, "If you really mean what you say, then please save my life and the lives of my people." The king scratched his head. Haman froze. His mouth fell open.
Esther continued, "You see, someone put out an order for the Jews to be destroyed. I'm also a Jew, and these are my people. If it were anything else, I wouldn't have bothered you. But we really need your help." King Xerxes stood up, filled with rage. "Who would do such a thing?" he demanded. Esther pointed at Haman. Haman begged Esther to save his life. Then he tried to make a run for it, but he was caught by some of King's people and was dragged away to receive the same fate he wanted for Mordecai and all the Jews.
That same day, King Xerxes gave everything Haman owned to Esther and gave her and Mordecai his ring so they could write a new law that would undo Haman's old law. The people were saved.
And scene. Bravo, everyone. Every character in every scene had a part to play. But there's someone we don't see on stage, but it is the only reason everything worked out the way it did. Can you guess who that is? God.